Indeed. So we'll kind of get started. As far as like the podcast, this is the EntreNetwork. So it's a podcast dedicated to helping small businesses through wisdom, knowledge, and practical tips.
Sure.
So we'll just kind of go ahead and get started.
Sure.
So
Thanks
Drayden
for
Dunn,
having me.
of course, man. So Drayden Dunn, welcome to the EntreNetwork. Super excited to have you on, man. So of course, Drayden Dunn, 32-year-old. Husband, father of two, business owner, man of God. So all of these things, tell me, who are you
I
individually?
think you just said it. I'm a creative. I like to create. I like to go get things. Huge imagination that I try to manifest a lot. And sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not. But I'm a product of my parents and my environment, which I got great parents and a great family. So a lot of my mom and my dad is embedded within me. As I get older, I start to see it more and more and learn, like, dang, okay, I adopted this and I adopted that. So, but that's really a hard question to sum up in one, to be honest with you.
Indeed. So with that, how did you get into entrepreneurship?
So entrepreneurship for me, it's always kind of been in my family. My dad took an interesting path. Like, he actually worked for UPS for like 39 years, I believe, 37, 38 nights, around there. Just a ridiculous amount of time to stay committed to one company. But during that time, he started auto. It's called Auto Expo, but it was a car business, as well as stepped into real estate, like for rental property. So when I was in high school, he wanted me to start selling things because I had this gift for gab. So he comes home and he throws me a brochure of Nikes, Jordans, Air Force Ones. Not sure if they were fake or real. Okay, I am sure they weren't real. And I started selling those and selling candy and just hustling. And at the time, I did a lot of music. A lot of rap, poetry, Christian rap. And me and my high school buddies, we did music. And once we kept recording music, we took that opportunity to monetize it and start recording music, writing music, mixing, mastering, and producing just for like local artists around Shreveport.
Indeed, man. So you're the owner of Envision Media Marketing. Why specifically a media and marketing company?
Yeah, it kind of found me because I've always been like a salesman, and I've always been interested in business, like the operations, the logistics, the growth of a business, the sustainability. And I think I really fell in love with like the business sector when I became a banker. I was a banker for about 7 years. And during that time, I was like a small business specialist. So every day, all day, I just talked to business owners. That's all I did. And not just talk to them, I was in their accounts. I was doing loans for them. I was being nosy. That was part of being a banker. So when you're doing that, your subconscious is just being filled with so many gems and wisdom. And I was like, okay, so business-wise, okay, how can I do what I love to do, which was really media production. It was like entertainment, music, videos, things of that nature. How can I monetize it? And I think having this twofold life, which was like suit and tie during the day at the bank and getting off and going to a studio and producing music and meeting different artists and stuff, it just kind of morphed into like monetization and how to pivot outside of music and really grow it. So I like to think that marketing kind of found me. It's a way to show my business acumen but still be creative.
Indeed. With that, how has your background in banking and then in the food industry and then rap and then YPE, how did all of this kind of shape you as a business owner and prepare you for the path ahead?
That's a great question. I number one, feel like I'm 100% on God's path. Like, I feel like the life that I have right now is ordained by God. Like, it's just a crazy how the opportunities and things mesh together that are not supposed to mesh together, right? Like, very, very weird. But you learn something from everything, from everyone. Every experience, every person has something for you to learn, for you to be taught. And I think if you go into situations with open minds and understanding that things are malleable, you can change things, you can form things, you can learn things, you can share things, that really fills you up. And I remember right before I started like working at the bank, I was serving tables at Cheddar's. And when I was serving tables at Cheddar's, I didn't feel like I was like a server. I was just Drayden working at Cheddar's. And I still would get off. I still would do music. I still would do video. Like, no job is beneath anything. And I learned from that job customer service. I learned from that job humility, right? But then on the flip side, from banking, corporate world, white collar, meet the goals, stretch goals. You know, I learned how to carry myself in front of business people. I saw $1 million check, you know, as a banker. So I got the out of me at 21. So as you move up and you start seeing some opportunities, experiences, they're not too, you know, you're not going to be intimidated by it as much because you've seen so many things and had so many experiences. So now when I hope to grow my business or to do bigger things, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that's what I learned, being comfortable. Because, I mean, I was uncomfortable in a lot of areas, even whether it was white collar, rather it was like starting a business from scratch and not knowing if it's going to succeed or not, losing a business. I lost businesses. I took huge loss and I went into debt. But I also was able to understand how like a office was ran successfully, you know, how human resources is important. And at the end of the day, you're dealing with people and people matter and how they feel matter. And you have to galvanize them and motivate them. I learned all those things. And I think it was perfect. And I just kind of like take things for what they are. If God gives me an opportunity and it falls in my lap or I go get it and I manifest it, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. If it doesn't fall, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, because losses add up to wins. You know, some experiences are going to cost. Some experiences are going to hurt. Some experiences are going to teach more than others. You know, you just take them as they come, how the chips fall. And that's what I learned. I've been fired. I've been rehired. I've been promoted. I've been demoted. I mean, I've done those things, and I think they all have really helped me to have resilience, you know, and be persistent and really just trying to expand my business and create a better opportunity for my family and for my staff.
Indeed, man. So within these last couple of years, it's been a lot of growth at Envision, so your media and marketing company. I remember quite a while ago when we went after this contract, and we was at the Office Hub downstairs in the conference room. So it was, I was in the room when we was just kind of working through different workflows and processes. And it was a lot of late nights before you even got the contract, right? So that just kind of speaks to the commitment that you have. And then once you got it, you shared and you brought additional people in. So the power of collaboration is always there with you. And definitely appreciate it because as you grew, we grew as a company as well, Revision Media Marketing. Well, Revision Media Marketing Group.
I love
you. It's super similar, but yeah, man, it's just a lot of growth that I have seen you go through, and then you seen me go through. And some of the stuff, like when you get into meetings and you're with all of these quote unquote important people, you always just kind of bring it down and you be yourself. And I can definitely respect that. So how have you been able to maintain who you are as an individual while also growing as a company?
That's good. For so long, and for a lot of times in the corporate world, I was not able to be myself. And I remember like saying when I pivot into my own business, like 100% ownership, I want to bring me out more because people know Drayden as like crazy Dre, funny Dre, like obnoxious, like I have fun. A lot of times no filter too, but I have to turn it on and off. And I think for so long I had so many people question my capabilities and certifications and credibility, particularly in the corporate world and white collar, that when I got an opportunity and I got into an environment that people allowed me to be myself and they wanted that and they rewarded that and they bought into that, that moment changed my life completely as an entrepreneur. I can be myself and y'all can accept that. And a lot of people are walking around on eggshells. And a lot of people are scared, especially in our cancel culture right now and everything being posted in social media, everything so judgmental. You have to be very careful. So if you get into an environment that people like accept you and to let you be who you are and you are able to perform and deliver, which is the most important thing, you have struck lightning. You have it in a bottle. And I had to allow people to show their confidence in me. I have stellar confidence, but I think when I was a young adult, a young professional in my early 20s, people were not just pouring into me. And the people that I surrounded myself with, we kind of was just out there shooting, just in the gym. Like, I don't care, because you're missing some things upstairs anyway, as far as like, you're a little naive. So, which gives you more courage. So you don't care. You just go. But looking back, we had a lot of people not pouring into us. So as I grew and I saw people start pouring it back into me for being Drayden, I was like, this is dope. I don't ever want to leave this. And it took me having to start my own company, right? And kind of create my own culture and create my own mission and create my own environment. And I got that from like Ava DuVernay, who I love, one of my favorite directors. Ava talks about creating her own environment. If you create your own environment and then you enter the environment that you create, you have more satisfaction, freedom, confidence, and you've set an expectation. And when people like meet that expectation that you set, it allows you to perform comfortably, And I think that's my goal. Yeah, or at least one of them.
Man, with that, talking about setting an environment, I remember I'm super bad with dates, but it was probably like a year ago when I walked into Envision. It was like you was talking to me about just the overall concepts on design and room feng shui or something like that. And you was like, hey, the sound, it matters because it sets the atmosphere. Yes. And then how the light bounces off the wall and stuff like that. So you were extremely strategic in terms of setting up the room and making sure that everything felt right and that experience was good. So kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
Just traveling, exposure. Like, you see some real cool stuff when you go on the exploration. Like, I challenge everyone to be curious and explore. And sometimes you see things that stick with you, and you say, well, that's cool. I've never saw this before. It's giving me a vibration. And then now you're chasing that nostalgia or just that same feeling. And, I just believe there's not a lot of rules when it comes to, like, creating a space that complements you. And I wanted to see myself in everything I did. So, yeah, that's why my furniture matters and the aesthetic matters, and having Breakfast Club on, some days when I walk in I think that's cool. That's different. Other people do it in bigger cities. And there's just so much lack, and, environment matters. And I really care about like what my team feels and what they think and what they want to see, because they have to work in that environment. And I'm more of a like energy person, so I prefer to work in person. I prefer, tactile. I prefer us getting in a room and sharing a space and feeling the energy, because you see, expressions. It's more focused. So while everyone's moving to digital, I'm like, put a mask on and let's get in the same room. So like, no, that's cool. That's creative outlets. Very important. Think about it like, we're creators because of our creator. So we have to be creative. All of us are creators. All of us are creative. And I think when you're creative, you get creative blocks. So you have to be real intentional about being diverse in what you're creating. You just can't create the same thing. create something new that you haven't tried before. I'm not a good draw. I can't draw too well, but I still draw. I do because I'm creating something, and while you're drawing, your mind goes, and I got a bunch of ideas, Sydney, all the time, and
I know.
I just I like going for them, and I like creating them and trying them, and that is so fulfilling. Yeah. So that's what the whole office space kind of thing was like creating an environment, something that talks to you, something that absorbs and gives off energy. And that is something that I just want to continue to move into as a serial entrepreneur. Is really development and creating spaces for other people to really thrive.
So creating spaces and creating businesses, why the big jump into 100% ownership? Because you started a business with YPE back in 2007?
Yeah, senior year in high school, and then we incorporated 2008. Yeah.
So how much freedom, why the big jump, and then how much freedom has that allowed for you to really have that creative freedom?
So why the big jump is because Brent, one of my best friends, the majority owner of Young Pros, has his vision, and I respect his vision, and he has to be married to that vision. And I needed to give him space and give myself space to carry out my vision. And they're complemented. It's complementary because the manifestations and the fruit of Envision comes from hard work that I did with Young Pros Entertainment. And us spending nights there and not sleeping and doing groundwork, which is pro bono, free stuff, or taking extreme pay cuts and things of that nature. We learn so much together. We push one another. And then you get to a point to where you God has given me a separate vision, not a better vision, not a lesser vision. It's just a different vision. And it's so much. We need more. We needed that. He needed that. I needed that. Cavante, we all need it because there's so much for all of us to give, and there's so much out there to be taken. Mm-hmm. So that's what it did. Now, freeing it up for me, what that did was you kind of have no you don't have to get in a room and battle everything out for the decisions that you make for the business. I make the decision and I carry it out, whether it's a win, lose, or draw. Mm-hmm. So with that, you move more expeditiously with your ideas. And sometimes you get more fulfillment because it is your sole idea and you get to manifest that idea. So it allowed me just to kind of go into this different type of niche marketing and communications that focuses more on a lower quantity of clients with more upside. And that's kind of where I want to be. I want to be married to my clients for a long time, and I want to see their initiatives and their businesses grow. And with that keeps us sustainable. Mm-hmm. It also gives me an opportunity to be fulfilled with their growth. So, yeah.
Huh. With that, Brandon, so he's one of your late friends, and he has a really incredible influence on you. Yeah. How in the building that you're purchasing or that you closed on and you're renovating is named after him. So how much influence has he had on you?
Man, yeah, Lord rest his soul. My best friend, Ace Boomcomb, Brandon Alexander, lost him 2 years ago plus. And literally, just to put that out there, imagine you talk to someone every day, and out of that you get stronger, and you make them stronger, and then you just abruptly take that loss. That it still is a difficult time for me, but in that season, it was crazy because it was a season of opportunity and it was a season of a loss for me. And for me, it really hurt. It hurt me creatively because that was my creative go-to. Brandon wasn't about business. He was about living in the moment, creating, let's go for it, period. We balanced each other because I was the business acumen to our relationship. So if I lost a portion of my bounce board, because I still have great friends and colleagues that I bounce creative ideas, but I lost that creative bounce board and it made me go dormant creatively. So now that forced me to be more intentional about looking for ways to create again, because we used to create music together and film together and write scripts together, and that kind of went dormant a little bit. But it also gave me an opportunity to stand on my own, and it gave me a why, do this for him, do this in remembrance of him, do this in spite of the loss to show, like, don't let this stop, like, keep moving forward. So it was crazy how we kind of, to the building that we purchased, how we acquired that, which was, again, nothing but God. Like, people don't understand how attainable that actually was, because he aligned it. It literally was aligned by him how it went. And I remember when I viewed the building and I started thinking of what we can do for it, and I wanted to make it an industrial, modern, creative space that you can have socializing going on, creativity going on, but also business. And I was like, man, like, Brandon would go crazy because we both love downtown. Mm-hmm. And when I walked outside, and I don't know why I didn't notice it, but when I made the decision that I wanted to somehow bring him into it in some way, I looked up and the building name was Percy Alexander, which is Brandon's last name too, because of the former CPA and his family that owned it, that we bought it from. So I was like, how is Alexander repetitious here? It has to be, this is it, fate, right? That the building was owned by Alexander, named after Alexander, and I wanted to name it after, and it just happened, and it's perfect. So now I can pay homage to both Percy, who owned the building, who was a CPA who invested in Shreveport, Louisiana, as well as my best friend, Brandon. So, that's going to be dope. He's going to somehow find his way. Brandon will find his way once we renovate the building because he loved catching Pokemon downtown, and we probably got some dope Pokemon at our building.
Yeah. If I don't catch them all, right?
Yeah, I gotta catch them all.
So for you, Drayden, at 32, what's your definition of success? Because I'll tell you a story. As far as like my entrepreneurial journey, it's been fun, stressful, and extremely rewarding. So back in 2014, I was still in high school, or I was graduating high school. And success to me was money. Yeah. So super young, super broke, or just realizing that our family wasn't well off, right? I realized that senior year of high school, and it was like, oh, and I picked up a camera and I started doing photography and video, and all of these things, and started doing music videos, funny enough. And it was like, okay, I need to make more money. People pay for this service, so money is success. And then fast forward 2017, when I started the business full time, success was kind of defined by more so understanding business. Mm-hmm. So I was green, super fresh, new into business, and working downstairs, it was like, hey, I need to understand how business kind of works, because it's tough. And I found out that relationship building was a critical component of business. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to 2019, husband, success to me at that point was more so getting more sleep. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of stuff that I had to go through as far as like becoming a new dad and then being a husband. So success was always kind of changing. And then 2021, currently, success is defined by personal happiness and sustainability on a personal side and on a business side. So that's how success has kind of been defined throughout my journey. Kind of tell me about your success and how you define it.
May sound like an echo chamber. You did a great job. I think you just defined what success is on the tail end of the soliloquy. But success, that's interesting. It's going to be different for everyone. Let me put that out there because it's tied to goals and expectations, and everyone has different goals. Now, sometimes you achieve a goal and you think you have success, and you say, well, this is not what I thought it would be. But particularly for me, it's about lifestyle and comfortability and family, putting them in positions to thrive, to be healthy, to do things that they love. people are not doing things that they love every day, man. They just not. Like, you'll ask somebody that's at work and say, do you love what you do? No, I have to be here. I have bills. So if you can find that happy spot to do what you love to do, whatever that is success if you can sustain and maintain that. And you have to by monetizing it, right? So for me, it's waking up doing what I want to do. What I want to do, I want to like direct film. I want to galvanize and motivate individuals. I want to inspire them. I want to learn. I want to be challenged. Like these are things that I'll look for. I chase curiosity. If I can do that every day, that's fine. And then guess what? Go travel. And traveling is linked more to exposure, right? We have a lot of great people that came before us that created great things, infrastructure, architecture, and then the number one person who created the most beautiful things is God. So nature, like we have to go see those things. They take resources. So it's going to be a sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice some things that you're uncomfortable doing and don't want to do, but that's part of obtaining success. But of course, it's about being comfortable and loving what you do every single day. That is it. And family, right? And the reason I can say family is because family going to always be your family. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we find friends that are more family than our family. And they're family too. But I learned this, like, of course, I got Caden, who's a 6-month baby right now. He's 6 months. All right. I come in from a hard day, or I'm frustrated, or it just wasn't great. He's sitting there smiling. And that moment right there of going in and seeing a smile and then seeing my wife and seeing Christian and, being able to see her parents, my parents, and they be proud of us, like that puts things in more perspective. Because, like, social media is, like, killing the definition of success by comparison, by facades, by pressure in the society. So you have to unplug because you can't allow anyone to define success for you or happiness. And success is happiness. That's pretty much what it is. So we're talking about two interchangeable things, and you have to make a decision of what that is for you. And that's important. And the only way you can do that is really by unplugging, shredding everything off and saying, like, what really makes me happy, and how can I do this every day? How can I do that, what makes me happy every day? And is that sustainable, okay? And can I leave something? And the leaving part is important because everyone left something for us. So if God blesses you with some things and people invest into your life and all the stars align, you have a responsibility to leave something behind and to teach, reach one, teach one. So for me, that is all of that combined is success. And it needs to be goal-oriented. You need to set new goals all the time. And that sense of accomplishment kind of helps you really measure the success that you obtain.
Success is always resetting.
Yeah.
Indeed. So
definitely.
So from a business standpoint, it's always a roller coaster, right? So you have these high points and these low points. For you personally, what has been one of the highest points in your business, and then one of the lowest points, and how you were kind of able to overcome that?
Yeah, the highest point of my business, honestly, is to be able to employ the people that work with me every day. And they're phenomenal. They're great. They have families. They're making money. They're learning. They're being challenged, trustworthy. And, I think I take pride that I have all African-American staff. I really do. That's super dope to me because in this marketing world, as well as serial entrepreneurship, that is a very difficult thing to do and to have, So the highest point is saying I have a company that has employees that get paid, and that to me is dope because we're creating a resource and giving back. So that's the high point. I want to continue to grow that and, share and things of that nature. And this moment right here, just this moment, like I'm not a regretful person. So like this is the I guess the apex right now until tomorrow. Like, I take it all in stride, The lowest of the low, let's see. I mean, I had this company one time in transportation, and we had a bunch of trucks, and like in a month span, 2 of them were stolen, and one completely totaled out. Yeah, we lost a lot of money. So that was a low point, and I had to start all the way over. I built a nest egg with Brittany and my other business partner, and that didn't go too well. That was a low time, but I don't even know if it was low because it just like it hit a reset, and I pivoted into something else, and I learned so much from that, and gave me an exit strategy. It forced me to exit the industry. So, I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to say low points because it's like
all of it is a learning experience
all
that
of it,
shapes the
yeah.
high points to really allow for you to push through the pad.
But just because it's for business people as well, I want to say it's true to that. For Envision, it was when I did have a staff and I didn't have money. Because what happens is like you get into a cash flow. Cash flow is very important.
Indeed.
And when you're talking about performance services and then having like a net 15 or a net 30 or a pay when paid clause in your contract, that you also have a biweekly pay schedule with payroll taxes, with expenses that are not really thought about, and with an aggressive like equipment acquisition to make things happen, that was difficult for me. And I really don't know how I got through it. I think we just skin and bones just I had to cut my salary temporarily and just not pay myself and just get by until the cash flow caught up. Because like the margins, it's hard to like sometimes be profitable and get an understanding of your profit when you have so much in accounts receivable, and then you have your reserve, your cash reserves, then you have your debt, then you have your expenses, and then you have like unforeseen liabilities just pop up. So like getting my footing for all of that at first was extremely difficult. But I knew it was going to take around 6 months to turn it, and it did. It happened. And so that was a low point for Envision. But for me, there are no low points. I put out, and I just want to put this out there because I think this is important. I shoot a lot of shots. I go after a lot of clients. I go after a lot of like opportunities. I knock on a lot of doors. I do a lot of proposals, and the majority of them fail. 95% fail. Maybe a higher percentage than that. So like some people may look at it, people get discouraged really. I don't. Just keep shooting, And because at the end of the day, the quality and upside of it going in and happening, it's no downside to attempting to market your business and to promote your business and to take an opportunity and to take a chance. So what? It doesn't happen. You get up the next day and you try again. Like, it's not that bad. So like, I went through a period of time to where I was shooting a lot of shots and they were bricking. And I went through another period of time when I started Envision. When I quit my job at the bank and I started Envision, number one, my wife did not want me to quit. She told me to go ask for my job back. We talk about everything. I didn't get her blessing for it. Okay. I did not blast off my company after I quit the bank. We lost money. I asked her to sell some personal things. My credit score dropped tremendously. I got behind on all of my bills. I had a 505 credit score. I had a negative net worth. Like, all of that happened when I quit the bank. And I started my own business, Envision. And that was a very troublesome season for me and my family. I lost trust in my wife. I lost trust in my parents. I just kept pushing. And I took work as it came. And it was extremely difficult. But even during that time, just like I mentioned at the beginning, it's like when I was a server, I was Drayden. When I was losing, I was Drayden. And Drayden is someone who's gonna keep pushing. Like I'm just gonna keep pushing and trying. Like, I know what has been promised to me. I've seen it go up. I've seen it go down. I've seen it go up or go down. Like, we can go get it again. And persistency came. I just kept pushing, and then a few shots went in, and then you build momentum off of that. And the perfect time to win is right after you won. So, yeah.
Geez, that's a good one. The perfect time to win is right after you won. So funny story. I had back in, I think 2017, 2018, when I went full time, it was like a period of a lot of stress. But at the same time, I was young, right? So I didn't have a lot of responsibilities.
Okay.
My girlfriend, my wife at the time, well, wife now, girlfriend at the time, we didn't have a lot of personal expenses. Of course, you have student loans, but who's going to pay that, right?
Right.
But realistically, it'll get paid. But I had an opportunity come after 3 months, and it was like, okay, this is some pretty good money. So I'm focused on sustainability for this contract. And it lasted probably 3 months. So no money, negative cash flow within a business. My wife paying all of the bills, the little bills that we had. And I'm just like, okay, how do I get more revenue? Because I had the space downstairs, and it's like, you have to go ahead and pay for this space. I had a cash reserves, but it's depleting quickly. And then I get this contract, and it's 3 months, and I'm living like I was, but the business has some revenue in, and I failed to go after additional opportunities while I had that one. So it's extremely important to always shoot your shot, always try to sell, always go after the next thing, because sustainability, growth, you have to have it.
That's it.
So with Envision, what made you decide to purchase a building? Why is that the next step? Because you've been here at the Office Hub for 2 years?
Yeah, 2.5 years, because I worked out at an Office Hub conference room every day for 6 months, like every day. I had the flex desk, that's all I could afford, and I would just book a conference room every single day and work there and then leave. So, and at the time, I was meeting with Brandon a lot. We was working on a script that I'm going to wind up shooting, and I remember I told him, I was like, man, I'm going to get an office here next, and that, he passed away, then like 2 months after that, I got an office, right? So that was crazy. I wish he could have saw that. But to answer your question, why we're purchasing the building, it's because we have burn rate. I mean, the expenses, Jesus. I mean, I paid through both businesses. I've paid rent downtown for over 10 years, period. But for Envision specifically, I mean, my expenses just through the roof. I mean, it's time to invest, and I wanted equity. I wanted something that I can invest in. I wanted to see ROI, right? And frankly, I outgrew the space. We have 5 members of the staff with 3 offices. We share offices. We share space. Also, I wanted to bring in a media production in-house studio that we can do more videography, audio recording, that we can build sets for and things of that nature. And then also, you just talked about it, additional revenue, right? We got to be creative in how we're like producing revenue and income for your business. And sometimes it's kind of changing the services or the goods that you offer, or expanding on those things. By having a building, I can also do subleasing. By having a building, I can do event coordination or event rental, space rental. By having a building, I can look forward 3, 4, or 5 years and say, if my staff grows, I can bring them in and I don't have to worry about where I'm going. As well as you're building equity in the property, the same way if you purchase a home and you pay that mortgage down, that increases your net worth, and you get equity in that home that you can later leverage to acquire more capital or a new asset to really grow your business. Plus, I just freaking love Shreveport. I love downtown. I always have. I wanted to be there. I wouldn't have thought that I would purchase a building on Texas Street. If you asked me, no, because it's prime real estate, and it just was ridiculous that building was on sale for so long. So I guess it was for me, but that's why. And I think for other businesses, like why, when do you know? Because this thing is about when do you know, right? Or it's about a lot of stuff, but when do you know it's time to purchase a building for your business? It depends what type of business that you have, right? If you are producing a good and you're in manufacturing and you have a cost of good and a whole process to create something, you need space for that, right? And you can use your home unless you have people that need to help you or you outgrow that space. Also, it depends if you're selling something and you need foot traffic. If you want people to occupy your space and you have a showroom where they need to engage in the product and they don't trust like buying it just online, you need to create a space for people to come in and engage with your product and really like have that face-to-face interaction that helps sell what you have. So that's important, right? But it's kind of a catch-22 because I do think Envision could operate remotely or digitally, but I just don't want that. I want to create space where I can kind of work with my people. And I think in a society today, especially with business, everything is going to digital. Everything, right? So I'm just old school sometimes, and I like some brick and mortar stuff, and I like seeing people and inviting people and being a showman and having guests and being a great host. And that's not dead. I mean, we're people, so we need to humanize some stuff. So while people are moving that way, I'm moving the other way. And I think that the investment in downtown is important. They need to see what happens when a city and a group of people or a community of people invest in one another. And that person is a good steward of the resources and they reinvest it into the community and give them opportunity to see growth. Number one, that's the best thing to do. It's just what you're supposed to do. Number two, you have youth and people that are upcoming and they're cognizant of what's happening. They want to see what we are doing. So if they see Revision, Envision, young pros like grow and acquire things and give back, and now we're doing community, events and art shows and giving back and festivals and things of that nature. They see it. They believe it. They get exposed to it, so it's an inspiration thing to it as well. You're downtown to be seen and to invest in the future of Shreveport, right? And I just like selling our city, So all of that. But, my wife's a CPA. Only get a building if you can afford it. It's not for everybody, only if it's necessary. But literally my mortgage for the building is a lot less than my rent, right? Even with the utilities. So it's not like I just took this big financial risk either. So, yeah, it just made sense.
Gee whiz, man. I can definitely hear all of the passion for Shreveport. And that's been this sort of theme ever since I kind of met you. I came from Natchitoches, and I think we met at this event for the African American Chamber of Commerce when you was doing photography or video for them, right? And it was just passion leaking off of you for Shreveport. And it was like, yeah, we can definitely connect. We can collaborate from that first interaction with you. And then fortunately enough, we moved to Shreveport, and it was like, I fell in love with Shreveport because I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the atmosphere that we have here at the Office Hub and all of the interactions that we have. So personally, I think you are one of the biggest advocates for Shreveport that I know, and it's extremely contagious. So when people talk down on Shreveport, it's like, no, I know Drayden Dunn. I know Candace Baptiste. I know all of these people who love the city and really do positive things for the city. So you invested in downtown Shreveport, man, it's really good to see that, see that passion being fulfilled in a sense.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate that.
Of course, man.
I just wanted to shout out James Thorward, who owns the Office Hub, because, he bought this building that we're sitting in right now, and he renovated it. He put a lot of bread into this facility for small businesses to occupy, to grow their business, right? And so look at that, all right? He built this or renovated this or purchased this to create a space for micro businesses to get a good start, to grow so they can do the same thing. And literally that's what happened. Like he allowed me to come in. I got a flex desk. I'm paying $175 a month to be a member of the Office Hub, and I'm working it. I'm using all 175, right? Then get an opportunity to move upstairs, acquire a few offices, grow my business, hire more staff, partner with you, And then after, 2.5 years, it's time for me to, acquire my own and do the same. That, just we need that. That's mentorship. That's showing us how to do it. And yes, I'm an advocate for Shreveport, and I want everyone to know that, the mentality that we have here is so important. It's so important to believe. It's so important to inspire. It's so important to affirm. There's times where I'm in the rut. I'm in this, funk that everybody gets in. And I'm always going to still speak goodness. I'm always going to still be positive. This is me, and we all are going to have our moments because there's a realistic, like, thing happening in the city. We're human. Everything is not going to be great, but it's about how you respond to things when they're not so great, and the solutions that we offer, and the persistence that we have, and the endurance that we show. Like, we need to continue to move forward because the goal is growth. The goal is to give back. The goal is to invest. The goal is to bring in. The goal is to bring up. And, like, that's not going to be easy. And I get tired of, like, people acting like everything has to be easy to accomplish. And when things are difficult, we don't attempt it. And that's not how we should be. Just because things are hard, that doesn't mean you run away. The difficult we do, the impossible we strive for. It is doable. Things are doable even when they're hard. And it is hard to change the mentality of a community. It is hard to take away generations of waste sometimes and bring that forward, to take a population of people that maybe didn't believe or didn't have the same shared resources or the equity that's necessary to be successful. Like, that is hard, and it doesn't happen overnight. And it may not even happen, for us to see. I don't know. I just know we need to move it forward, and we need to pass it back, or pay it forward is what they really say. So, yeah, I love Shreveport.
Indeed, man, and showcasing that it's possible. Because who knew that you were able to buy a building in downtown Shreveport? So with that, going back to the building, right? I think you spoke earlier on in the podcast. You was like, people don't understand how attainable it is.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And with that, this is probably one of those points where you can talk about your wife.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, right?
Okay. Right.
But because
unshameless plug.
Indeed. Because it matters, giving back. But how attainable is it, in a sense? What's the biggest challenge you had when closing on a building that you didn't really foresee before you got into it?
Is having your paperwork together. That is everyone's challenge for micro businesses, for minority-owned businesses, for new businesses, right? You have to keep track and be accountable for everything: your dollars, your taxes, your forecasts, your payroll, your liabilities, of course, which is debt, your business plan, which is how you're going to monetize and be profitable, the way that you personally handle your business too. Because if you're a business that is under 2 years of establishment, you have to personally guarantee all your loans with a financial institution. That is very difficult. So if you don't have a 750 and you don't have a debt to income ratio that is under 45% on your personal side, but you have a newer business, it is going to be damn near impossible to get funding and access to capital. So you have to clean up your personal side. You have to pay down your debt and liabilities, take your collections off, make sure that you have cash on hand, a little bit of it at least, and get your credit score up if you have a business under 2 years. Because when you go to get a business loan, they're going to refer everything to your personal. So once you do establish a business, and it is after 2 years, you have to make sure that you have everything taken care of on your paperwork and that you're profitable. It's just like this, man. Listen, I lost all of my money, Sydney, and I've been losing all of my money for the last 2 years. And when I say I lose, like I literally lose it, and it falls out of my pocket. And, people take it from me. But can I get $1,000 though? And I'll pay you back next week. You're gonna say no because you're not credible. You're claiming losses. So the bank and the financial institutions and angel investors, they're looking at how you're handling the current cash and the cash flow and the profitability of your company, and they take that in consideration when you get a loan. You know, think about from a personal standpoint, what is one of the easiest things to acquire when it comes to a loan? It's a car. A car is something that is it's an asset that you can take back. So yes, they're going to give you the car because they can always take the car back. It's a secured loan. They're securing it with collateral, right? So and plus they want to sell a bunch of cars because they make a lot of money with good interest rates. But it's easy to acquire. For a business to get unsecured money, like just a line of credit or a cash loan, how are you going to pay me back? Are you profitable? Is it coming in? You got clients? What's your plan for next year? If there's a 5-year term on it, what is your plan for 5 years? I see what you have now, but what are you going to do in year 3? So you have to take care of your personal first. And once you do that, you need to make sure that you're being very, very conservative in the way that you spend your money for your business and the investments that you choose to make, right? And but when we talk about, I said it wasn't as hard to obtain. What I'm saying is it was a piece of real estate that was affordable. If I'm already paying a X amount of money for 2.5 years for rent, that means I can pay less over here. So that makes sense for the lender to give you that opportunity. I mean, everything is logical. Now, I will point out that we still have a long way to go with fair lending. And that's why one of the biggest acts that passed to close the generational wealth gap, which is very important to me, was the Fair Lending Act. And working in the bank, I learned a lot about how people judge you when you come in and what exceptions they will make for certain businesses and certain people that they won't make for others. I also learned how paperwork is viewed sometimes subjectively and how things are manipulated in that industry. And so there's some obstacles other than the legitimization that the lenders are responsible for to really change the way that they do business, right? So the best thing that we can do is to get our stuff together. And I would say another word, but get it together. Yes, plug my wife. She's a CPA. You need someone to help you with your forecast. Look for tax savings to make sure your payroll is good, to make sure that you're not going to get a tax lien or you're not going to go in too much debt with the state or the feds or the city, right, for the taxes. You also are going to need an attorney that makes sure that all your things are good, your client relations, your scope of services, the protection against your goods, And sometimes, honestly, a business consultant of someone who has been successful before you that can add value to your company. Those are things that you need, and they help legitimize your business so you, as a business owner, can focus on your product or your service. Because everyone's not going to want to tap into accounting and lending and stuff like that. You may just have a passion for baking cakes. You may have a passion for teaching or tutoring. You may have a passion just for building this product or being a stylist or a barber or starting a sports league, or so many different things that passions can be monetized. And it's important for you to focus on these things. And you need other people to help you legitimize your business. So when it's time for you to grow or it's time for you to have a moment of sustainability and you're not getting that cash flow, you can go get access to capital. And the last thing we need is for them to say, oh, your paperwork, no, we're going to get that together. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it happened, is because we had our stuff together. And I have to commend my wife, who's a big part of the success for Envision, and she's my unofficial CFO, right? So it allows me to focus on my craft and my day-to-day operations.
Beautiful, man. So just kind of wrapping up the podcast. This was incredible, by the way, man.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate the time, energy, and space, bro.
Of course. So entrepreneurship, from all of your years of entrepreneurship and constant improvement and just learning overall, what's a last piece of advice or wisdom that you would give to someone trying to grow?
I love that. So it's twofold. So first, I'll speak to the entrepreneurs and just say, go. If you get nicked up or if you hurt or if you lose, that is a part of your story. It's not the conclusion. Keep pushing through, period. It's okay to pivot. Everyone pivots. When COVID happened, how many new drive-thrus did we see? How many new curbsides did we see? How many new businesses did we see? Hell, if you had fabric, you can make a mask. You had L'Oreal, who made makeup, switched his hand sanitizers. You have to be able to pivot, and it's okay to do that. And just because things are hard, that doesn't mean give up. And if you're going to cry to keep going, not to give up. You're going to cry. This stuff is hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But I do want to speak to a professional who loves what they do but isn't an entrepreneur, because I think we have an audience that they're just interested in everything. And I want to say this to everyone, is that we cannot continue to romanticize entrepreneurship under professionalism and having a great job, okay? It is not for everyone. And if someone has a 9-to-5 or a 5-to-9, or they're a professional and they work within a network or a great corporation, they are successful too, right? Because we're pushing people that are not made for entrepreneurship sometimes into it, and they're getting ate up and they're getting compared to entrepreneurs because we have this romanticizing energy with being a boss. And I don't think that's for everyone. And we need to stop encouraging people to be a boss and just to be leaders. And all of us can lead. Professionals can lead, entrepreneurs can lead, and at the end of the day, you asked the question earlier about success. What is it? Owning your own business does not define success. I don't give a damn how profitable it is or how much money you're making. It's about getting up and living what you do and bringing that home to your family. So that's what I got.
Indeed, man. Hitting it right on the head, gee whiz, because getting into business, it's too romanticized, and it's a lot of hills and valleys. There's a lot of constant worry.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get off work at 5, it's not like you're really truly off. You still have all of these thoughts. You still have to say, hey, how can we increase cash flow? How can we increase revenue? How can we keep these people on? How can we go after additional contracts? It's a lot that's always spinning constantly. So it's a balance that you have to have. And as far as entrepreneurship, just know that you want to go into it. And before you do that, consult with somebody who's already did it, because they'll let you know, hopefully, how much crap that you have to eat, how many late nights, how many sacrifices you'll have to make in the world of business. But yeah, man, thank you.
You're welcome, man. I appreciate the opportunity, man, and proud of you as well. What you're doing here. Y'all just keep pushing. You got a great team, great energy, creative space. I love it. Entrepreneurs, man, just push through. Just push through. Proud of y'all, proud of the city, proud of the people, all positive energy, I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for coming on to the EntreNetwork, man.
EntreNetwork's going down. Envision, revision. Yes. Thanks.